What's going on, everybody? My name is Jacob Gettins, and welcome back to the Outer Zone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. We are here in beautiful Monroe, and the weather is great. The sun is shining. The drivers are absolutely crushing it. We've got some awesome interviews for you today. So we're going to take a few moments, talk to the drivers. Dean Carney's ready for his close-up. I'm getting out of your way. Cool.
I like the mic setup. Do we look official?
Yeah, you feel like sports broadcasters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we're here in St. Louis. No, we're not. We're not here in St. Louis.
Not
We're in
yet.
Seattle. You can tell because we're not both dying of heat exhaustion.
No kidding.
Got Robert Thorne, so fighting for that Rookie of the Year spots in Pro this year.
Yep.
How's everything been?
It's been good. It has been a challenge.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're learning pretty quick.
I would say so.
The car has been great all year. We figured out a few things, and then, of course, the last round in St. Louis, we finally won a battle against James.
Which is crazy.
Which was crazy, yeah, for sure. And the car was hooked up.
Yeah.
We've been playing with setups so much, and sometimes you just hit a groove, and you're like, ooh, that's it, leave it.
Okay.
Don't touch it.
What are you feeling in the car when you hit that groove? Is it just one of those everything feels right, you're not fighting it, or?
It goes where you want it to go without it fighting you.
Okay.
And then when you ask a little more of it, it gives it to you, opposed to doing something really bad. We had this huge bad habit of understeer for the first half of the year.
Yeah, Atlanta coming into your initiations, you could see it scrub out a little, and you were having to really hawk it in.
Yeah, and we fought that. I mean, we crashed the car with a big thing of understeer at Long Beach at the first round.
Right.
And we really hadn't figured it out. Finally, we figured it out. And we also put some larger front Koenig wheels on the car, and that helped quite a bit. But a few things on shocks, and it really came together. So now I can drive the car hard and know that it's going to be there for me, which, of course, in battles you can't be thinking about how the car's going to drive.
Yeah.
You just need to be eyes ahead and try to put it on a door. And now it does that. So that's cool.
Yeah, that confidence, has got to be everything, right? Just knowing, especially here, because it's one of those, you've got one shot to get that initiation right, and then if you miss it, the run's over, basically.
Yeah, it'll take you the entire banking to readjust your car, and it'll be obvious to the entire world. So
yeah. What's your run up and initiation here? Are you still figuring it out? We're early. We're practice.
No,
one,
it's
right?
okay. It's okay. I mean, I did a couple hundred laps on the sim on this track. I had my whole pattern dialed down. It was a 2, 3, 4, and a little clutch kick left, and then a little bit of a float up to the wall. And then as soon as it's in the right position, then mat down.
Okay.
And I could do that pretty consistently. Unfortunately, on our first run, it seems like we lost the dogs on fourth.
Okay. So are you gonna re-gear the rear end?
So we re-geared it and ran a third.
Okay.
And it's working again.
Yeah.
But I was just a little off on my timing. And then what do I do on the infield? Do I really go down to second now, where it tightens up? So we're gonna probably pull the gearbox out and fix that as well.
Okay.
But that's why we're definitely struggling a little bit. The banking is intimidating too here, for sure. That 100-mile-an-hour banking is something different.
Are you finding you're using a lot of left foot brake in it, or trying to adjust with angle to get your speed corrected into the wall?
As little as either as I can do.
You just want to set and forget.
Yeah. And get your RPM, get your limiter set so you can kind of just stay at constant speed. Any adjustment seems so obvious from the outside that I want to do very little. Hopefully, I can just tap a little left foot brake to move a couple feet here or there. But that's about all I want to do once I'm up there.
Yeah, it is the hardest part here. Is everything is so obvious. There's a couple of spots in the infield you can kind of play around a little bit. I've seen a lot of guys coming off the bank, and then you've got your. I think it's officially an outer zone. I'm always trying to the names switch around a fair bit, but that slowdown, that big decel zone, you can see guys will cut in and try and basically lead off the guys to make up some room, but the bank, there's nothing. You're either on their door, or you're way behind them, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, there's not a ton of catching up.
But that's how this track is. So. The upside is though, it rewards that aggressiveness on initiation, right?
Yeah.
If you can be on their door right at initiation, you're usually okay to keep up.
Yep.
So
Hopefully we'll get a few things sorted out and get the car. Of course, we have tons of time today. We've got like 5 hours of practice.
yeah, which is great.
Which, of course, but now I need it, and I'm going to use probably every bit of it. But we'll get there, and man, I want to keep going. Now I want an 8. Now we got a top 16.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to work our way back up the points.
It's got to be like a huge weight lifted off you.
Yeah.
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 Especially being James Dean.
Yeah. And we knew, we're like, man, no matter how well these runs go, we're at least going to get a one more time.
Yeah.
No matter how well this goes, it's going to be a one more time.
I think I talked to Stookie about it in Long Beach because he one more time James Dean. And I was like, he's like, just that alone is like cool feather in the cap.
We had already won.
Yeah.
And like for our pit space, we're like, we did it. We one more time, James.
Yeah.
And then to get the win on the one more time was like just a huge relief to finally be like, okay, we can do it. The car can do it. You know, the RTR is one of the quickest cars out here.
Yeah.
So if we can make them a little nervous, then we're definitely going down the right track.
I think one of the coolest things with your car, and I didn't realize it until Atlanta, is that you're still running the stock fuel tank, or at least stock location.
Yeah. So, Radium came on board with the sweet surge tank setup and everything.
Yeah.
And it works so well that this is still on a stock tank.
Okay.
Which is probably lighter than most of the fuel cell setups out there.
And it's lower.
And it's lower.
Yeah.
So it's light, it's low. The surge tank setup works perfect.
Okay.
And honestly, it's been like that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to change it right now.
No, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those like, why cut out the rad support? Similar until you've bashed one in.
Right.
You got one free one before you've got to rebuild it all, right?
Yeah. It's still a front rad car. It's got a brake booster. It's got a stock fuel tank.
That's wild.
And it's out there doing the thing. So
it's good though. I mean, I think it's like, this is the testament to people like, stop overbuilding your cars.
Yeah. There's definitely like some mandatory things.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that as far as some of those things that everyone does on it's stock steering column, stock pedals.
Yeah.
And I think it rips.
Dude, it does rip. I mean, obviously there's a big jump, and I know obviously you felt it coming from ProSpec coming up.
Yep.
But all things considered, to say like you're not uncompetitive in it. Are you a little behind? 100%. Your rookie year.
Yeah.
Like most, as you said, most rookies are just happy to make it at a top 32 once.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, dude, it's crazy.
Those items aren't holding me back yet.
No.
At some point I'll be like, okay, everything else is perfect. Now what can we do to improve the car?
Okay.
But there's so many things still on our list that are like huge that we want to keep working on the car. Until we get those done, we're not going to probably go after the little stuff.
There's no point. I guess what is next now that you've like led into that? Like if you had to swap one thing out, transmission's an easy one right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I should probably get on that.
Yeah. I'll let you go.
No, you're good. You're good. I want to play with front struts with some different styles. And we realized that, the front end is so important with the way these cars drive.
Mm.
And the rigidity of the front end on all the components really is what gives you the ability to drive at higher and higher angles.
Okay.
So as you get higher and higher angles, you put the suspension under so much more load and the steering system. We realized that we quickly reached the limit of the rigidity of the front suspension. Okay. And no matter how good we have everything, it's going to start to oscillate if we go above an angle.
Can you feel that in the wheel?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So like you'll be, let's say, maybe not here because you're not really full lock on the wall, but you're getting into full lock on throttle and the steering wheel starts to shake.
To feel it. And we've been through everything on it, and we've got cameras down there and watching everything. We're like, yeah, no, that's actually just all of it moving. So
that's great that you've diagnosed it, but also you're like,
because that means you have to fix now everything.
If you don't look at it, and then it's one of those when like the car starts making a weird noise. If you don't actually open the hood, it's not a problem yet.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's Schrodinger's problem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get that sorted, man. I mean,
that's the next step.
Yeah, I don't think here it's as big of a deal because like you're going to be on lock in like 2 spots.
Yeah,
but I think something
they're
like
kind of lower speed where you are, and the banking is pretty low angle. I mean, you kind of have to. It's so big.
Yeah. You would never keep the tire. Have you run into any keeping tires under you issues yet?
Not yet.
That is like a huge issue with this track, right?
Yeah.
That because I was watching some guys in practice spinning on one of the inner clips.
Oh, because they just melted them off.
The tires, coming off
Yeah.
the bank are so hot. You can just see them. They get back on the throttle, and the tires haven't had a chance to even come off temp at all.
It's
So,
when you're trying to decel into the infield, they're
Yeah.
so hot from the banking
Yeah.
that it just feels there's no grip to slow the car down.
it's just
Like
glass.
washing. You can hear them like howling. Like
That's crazy.
they sound like overheated mud terrain tires.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, oh yeah, they're mad.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll let you get to the transmission part. And, dude, keep up the great work.
Yeah,
Excited to
thanks.
see how this year goes.
Appreciate it.
There.
There you go.
Just make sure that we're good. I don't know if you can do a clap too if you want. Cool. So we are here with Mr. Ola Jäger. Is that how do I give me the proper pronunciation?
The Norwegian way to say it?
Yeah.
Ola Jäger.
Ola Jäger.
That's perfect.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right, sweet.
You got it. You're
for
first
the,
one.
for the amount of time I've spent in Norway now, you think I'd be decent at this. So
You're
yeah.
pretty good.
I'm getting there.
Yeah,
I'm definitely getting there. So how's your weekend so far? I don't see any major work going on.
No, we had a crash last race, so
Yeah.
we just mocked it up as good as possible. You know, it's a wall here as well. We
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
first practice session. It was pretty good. I feel pretty comfortable.
You look
just
good. Yeah.
doing some adjustments to get it gripped up to the others and
Yeah.
be fast enough. It's all about that.
Have you with the Kendos? I was chatting about this before. I think one of their biggest benefits for this year is longevity. Looking at how I went and checked a bunch of other teams' tires. I won't say who, but there's guys that are coming back on cords. How are these holding up right now?
They're really good at that because we
Yeah.
can run at least 3 runs,
Right.
3 decent runs. And here, the track and the surface is pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of runs is not an issue on these tires. So
That's
they're
perfect.
keeping up really good.
So you'll be able to just hopefully dial in more grip, and then be able to kind of get it to a point of 2 runs, and then get everything out of them at that point.
Yeah, try to get the most out of the tire, but at least get as much grip as possible.
Yeah.
So we can, as you say, wear them out on 2 runs.
Yeah. No, that's good. It's better to have that than be the opposite, where certain tires are going to run into issues where they're barely able to make 2 runs, and then they're going to have to dial out grip, and then you run into the issues hey, qualifying, where are you going to qualify? Do you want to lead first, chase first? So
Yeah.
it becomes a little bit more of a game at that point.
It's all about trying to dial that in. And at looking at previous round this year,
Yeah.
obviously we didn't qualify that high. So
Yeah.
we will try to qualify high every round, of
Yeah.
course. But, you're trying to mimic what's going to happen in the competition and
Yeah.
trying to adjust yourself to that.
So you'll probably chase first and then lead second, right?
Hopefully not. Yeah, it's
I'm
been
just
that
bugging.
way.
I'm just
Yeah.
bugging. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have to predict what you think the weekend's going to be like, and then get the car set up for that. Right?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. And you can always adapt to changes during a weekend, of course. But
Yeah.
you're trying to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. How do you enjoy the Supra? Obviously you had Chucky before. Now this is kind of Chucky 2.0. Have you called it that or renamed it?
It's
Brad and
almost
Chucky?
like we called the other one Frederick called Chucky. We
Yeah.
call this Lucky because it's always been running for 10, 12 years. But now we did. I like the chassis. It's for me. It's the first chassis I got into drifting with.
Right.
I know the chassis. I know all the nuts and bolts on it. But yeah, it's good. But I definitely think there could be built in different things into that car to make it even better.
Yeah,
So
of course.
we're a bit far off being the top 5 cars.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes down to the driver out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course you have to have the tools. But
Yeah.
Mark IV Supra for me is
it's
my
so
first love.
It's so iconic too.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a beautiful car. I mean, a buddy of mine's got one. I've always loved it. There's something about it. They're just the way that they sit. They look good with wings, without wings. They look good slammed. They look good race prepped.
They're almost timeless.
Yeah.
These were built in the early 90s. And
Yeah.
still, if you see it on the street, people think it's a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Or it's not even better than the Ferrari, right?
Yeah, it is an incredible car. And then you've stuck with the 2J. What transmission have you got in it now?
Some Sonus 5-speed sequential.
Right. So, and you guys popped a refreshed one in. You're saying you guys did that yesterday?
We changed some dog rings and some gears. We
Okay.
had, maybe it's me gearing and changing gears and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
we had some issues with keeping them up to date, holding
Yeah.
all the power and the grip.
Yeah.
But now we got a fresh rebuilt one in the car, and for sure it's going to be good for the weekend at least.
Yeah.
We're going to do more maintenance than we maybe thought we should.
Yeah.
So we need to open it every round and see if it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those you have to learn. When something's brand new, you're like, cool, it's good for a couple of rounds. This has already got a full season on it. Now you're like, okay, how often do we have to maintain this? And that becomes a whole other can
Yeah.
of worms, right? That's the part nobody talks about is the actual just making sure these things stay running.
Yeah, and the thing is learning your own car. Like
Yeah.
you build your own car, but it's all about learning it in an FT race weekend, see how much wear we take, and it's all about it's a steep learning curve at this level, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like this is the pinnacle. so-
Everyone's pushing.
Yeah. How much driving do you get to do back home? I know you did some stuff over at Getbill. Wasn't sure how much else you got on the go.
At least I wish we could do way more driving.
Yeah,
if
of
it were up to
course.
me, we do more, like way more every weekend.
Yeah.
But we get to do some Galpil events.
Yep.
But in the winter time, we try to focus on the ice drifting. So we
course.
try to go every weekend. But summertime, I'm trying to do some practice days just to keep myself focused.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get practice on the same level. With
Yeah.
the same cars, the same tires,
Same
the same
grit.
powers,
Yeah.
and the same competitors.
Yeah.
If you could go out there with 5 FD guys on the same FD track, on
Yeah.
the same tire, and same everything, you would have been the level of practice would have been way better.
There's a point of diminishing return. Like seat time is seat time, but like there's a certain things that you can't practice
Yeah.
unless you're doing it like at a track like this with these cars, right? Like some of the tandem, right? Because you guys are holding those cars back so hard, so you're not just smashing into somebody.
Yeah, and that's what I think as well. So if you had practice and you say different kind of practice, the level of practice has to be good as the competition.
Right.
But when it gets to competition, your mindset is different. So I think the best way to practice is more competition time. More
Okay.
seat time in competition because you're doing things in a run you wouldn't do in a practice because you push yourself way further
Yeah.
and you will do those sacrifices to win a race.
That's a good
or a battle.
That's a solid point because you don't I think a lot of it too is just like the pressure of an actual battle, right? Like even in practice, you can try and do as close to a competition level battle, but it's not the same as knowing that it's top 32, knowing who you're against. Okay, I got one shot. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole other mental game you gotta play.
And I
with.
think if you can work that out in your head to
Yeah.
be like as focused, as pushing as hard as a competition run,
Yeah.
you would get most out of the practice. And that's I think find as a struggle to try to be up there mentally as you would be in top 16, top 32, top 8.
And you don't want to hurt the car either. You don't want to like you want to push hard, but you also don't want to go so hard that you wreck the car and then miss
Yeah.
the rest of practice.
And
too.
but I think you have to.
Yeah.
At this level,
Yeah.
everyone's pushing like it's competition.
Yeah.
So it's all about just forget about the car. Just go out there. If you wreck it, you wreck it.
Exactly. Cool. Well, here's some engines firing up. I know you're going to be out there soon for some more practice, but I'm glad we
Yeah.
finally got you on.
Finally.
Now you just got to go win, and then we get a full episode. So.
Yeah.
I've already got notes ready to go for you.
Yeah, I'll do good.
Cool. Awesome.
Promise.
Ken, not a
Yep.
great day, bud.
Oh man, yeah, it's just very unfortunate. It just seems like this whole year has kind of been kicking our butts
Yeah.
entirely, and I can't necessarily pinpoint one specific issue that's been going wrong. It just seems to be that everything is kind of just crumbling apart. But that's just racing, and we keep finding upgrades,
Yep.
fix the part, go racing the next round, and keep going, right? So we're still continuing to push the platform. Last year was our first year with this chassis and this specific engine package, which
Right.
is a lot of people know by now, but it's a 4-liter V6 out of a Toyota FJ Cruiser or
Right.
Land Cruiser. But we got pretty lucky last year with some pretty solid results, and so we were trying to carry that momentum going into this new season. But I say new season, but we're already 6 rounds in.
Yeah.
And so by now I would have had to seen some better results. But it's just part of the game. We've had very unlucky calls made against us, very unlucky things going wrong, especially in Orlando where we lost a whole winter's quick change
Yeah.
that I've never heard of. And all of a sudden everyone was losing differentials around the same time.
Yeah.
And then we lost the transmission, which cost us so much money to replace. Just something going wrong every round, and then of course the biggest blow to our face was coming into this round, Seattle, where we had the opportunity to really showcase what we've been working on between rounds, especially coming back from the East Coast, going to the West Coast.
Yeah.
And of course, taking over Formula Drift's Instagram page this weekend. I don't know what we did wrong to deserve this kind of, string of bad luck.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully it's out of the way. I mean, I kind of look at you and your program. It's a lot of like nothing ventured, nothing gained, where like you jumped into the super chassis like really, really early on, kind of helped develop that. It was basically you and Osbo were the only people doing it at that point in time. Obviously, into an engine that not many people are building. I'm not aware of. I mean, maybe there's other sports where they're doing this, but like I think maybe just the ambition of like always wanting to do something new and do something different and stay out of being stagnant in the sport, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that goes way back to when I first joined the Scion Racing family.
Right.
We came out swinging in a rear-wheel drive converted Scion TC.
Yep.
With a Beams 3S engine, turbocharged, made 700 horsepower.
Yeah. I
And
love
so,
the way
yeah.
those beams sound, though.
Oh, my
man.
God, yeah, they're amazing.
God, they sound so
Yeah.
good.
But that's just kind of how I've always been. I just
Yeah.
wanted to be in something different entirely, a whole new challenge for myself. The Supra was definitely a big challenge for us, considering we were one of the first, well, one of two teams
Yeah, that was
to be
it.
building the new GR Supra. Great car, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but my transition was originally supposed to be back in a 86 platform. So when the GR86 was announced, naturally, being a part of the Toyota Racing family or Toyota Gazoo Racing family, I would have to go back to a GR86 from
Yeah.
the GR Supra. And so, as you all know, I was in the Greddy FRS or 86 for 8 years, from
Yep.
2012 to 2019. And that car proved to be very competitive.
Yeah.
We've had to win a few podiums, second place in championship in that car. So we know that car has been capable. And the GR86 behind me is just the modern version of that car.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had no doubts going into this platform that it would be very competitive. And we know it is. I mean, we've had a win last year in this chassis. But yeah, it's just the bad luck, man.
It's tough. I mean, there's always the trade-off between having a car or an engine package that brings attention and then, known capability, right? Like you look at something like Odie, where like that is the ultimate, it's going to work.
Right.
And I'm not saying he doesn't get attention for having that package, but then you look at somebody like a Federico Sharifo, where that's completely unknown, but he gets more attention. It's a lot more development, it's a lot more
Right.
time. And like for me, I look at that as like, okay, you're approaching brands, you're approaching sponsors. You have that conversation. Do you guys want something that is modern and aligns with the brand, or do you want something that is already proven and is going to work, right?
Right.
And I'm sure those are conversations, like difficult conversations you get to have too.
Absolutely. But I think that's kind of what the beauty of drifting is that you
Right.
don't see the same chassis, same styled car
Yeah.
on same wheels doing laps around.
Yeah.
We see
With just a different wrap and different
Right.
like stickered headlights.
Yeah, we see a huge variety of different platforms, different manufacturers, different brands, different styles of driving.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what keeps me attracted to the sport,
Yeah.
is that there's so many different variables. And at any point, any one of these guys can win. It's just crazy.
It is nuts. Like we spoke with Robert Thorne earlier and we talked about him kind of taking out James Dean in St. Louis. And like, that's the ultimate, like he's got a stock gas tank in that thing.
Yeah,
And a
and
front
you know
mount
what?
rad, right? And it's like,
That's the thing, is that you expect someone like James to win.
Of course.
That's a given fact. Like
Yeah,
you
you're just like,
expect
yeah,
him to win. So
yeah.
when guys like like Robert Thorne, who doesn't have much competitive drifting experience,
Yeah.
comes in and completely blows the door off of James.
yeah.
That's like, oh man, like you want to cheer for that guy, you want
Yeah.
to cheer for the underdog.
Yeah.
And so
it's-
that was kind of one of those moments where like, I think it gave everyone the opportunity to cheer for someone that was the underdog against that big match.
Yeah, it's good. So what's like, you've been in the sport for a while, obviously. Like, what keeps you coming back every weekend? Like, where obviously like the development of this incredibly frustrating. I think anybody who's built or worked on engines before understands the pain you're going through. Where it's like you put all this time in, all this effort, pops.
Yeah.
What's keeping you going, man?
Well, like you said, when unfortunate mishaps like this happen, it's
Yeah.
always a huge dent to our
Yeah.
program. We kind of lose like motivation and like kind of forget why we're here. But then at the same time, we realize like we're here because we love seeing the fans. We love showcasing our build quality, our know-how, expertise. And of course, we want to be on track and driving.
Yeah,
But even without a running car, we're still here to showcase ourselves, our likeliness to our fans, and the camaraderie that I have between my team members. Even if things don't go right, we're still one team, one unit, and we kind of move forward, progress, keep the program going, and look for upgrades and updates to just keep pushing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what keeps me going, is that it's never ending. It's never the same things happening twice.
Yeah.
It's always something different, good or bad. And also the fact that we know what victory tastes like
Yeah.
is the biggest factor that keeps us motivated.
Yeah.
Is that-
I can only imagine what that's like, just going to be like, look, I've driven this chassis. I've won in this chassis.
Yeah.
Like, not this exact one, but like, you know, the basic. Is there much of an update within the GR
And the old
versus the old?
86?
Yeah. Like enough?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Enough to notice it big time. And
Okay.
I mean, the chassis itself is stiffer by 50% up front and 40% in the rear.
Oh,
so
wow,
Chassis rigidity is definitely improved.
Yeah.
But outside of that, suspension pickup points, they're pretty much identical, if not the same.
Yeah.
And so just from the simple, chassis rigidity improvement,
Yeah.
made a huge difference in performance.
I remember when Turk crashed his, and then got into like his street car. That was like the biggest thing he noticed, because like I think one of them was stitch welded, and like
Yeah.
all the stitch welds popped.
Right.
And then we got into the other one. He's like, man, it feels tighter, just because
Yeah.
it doesn't have all this damage on it. So I didn't look to see if this had been stitch welded at all. But that being said, if it's already 50% stronger, then it's like, well, why?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, we like to keep, or I personally like to keep my builds simple,
Yeah.
without going too overboard on like welding up every corner of the car
Yeah.
and chassis. I mean, I had already known that the chassis was already stiffer than the previous generation 86.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to focus on obviously making the car competitive in terms of like, obviously adding on wide strap suspension, ST coilovers, all the goods that come with, the package of a competitive Formula Drift car.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like the chassis prep itself was actually straightforward, adding a roll cage by Cage Kits.
Oh, is it cage kits? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simplest.
Dude,
I will
crazy.
never hand bend pipe myself ever again after.
It's
using
crazy
Cage Kits,
what they've been able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's pretty basic, straightforward build.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say basic, straightforward.
Yeah, I know.
because it's got
You
a
look at the
crazy
engine
in
bay.
it.
Yeah. You're like, what?
But it's got all the elements that make a competitive drift car
Yeah.
competitive.
Well, I'm hoping we see more. I know like the V6 sound is not what everybody's flavor is. For me, like I just want something that sounds different than like an RTR or an LS or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I remember when Chris started bringing his out, and I was like, okay, like we've got something different.
Yeah.
And then when you debuted this, I was like, oh, cool, like another sound to
Right.
listen for.
Yeah, and my
So-
V6 sounds entirely different than Chris Forsberg's V6.
It's wild how different they sound.
Yeah, and the fact that we use like very aggressive anti-lag.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I love.
No,
having
dude, the
like
pops
stuff.
and bangs.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of a throwback too, with like when that was. I mean, I would say like 4 or 5 years ago, everybody had nuts anti-lag. and,
Right,
like,
right.
We still got a couple guys. I mean, Higa's
Yeah.
anti-lag
Yeah,
sounds really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Hurst, obviously the rev limiter, not so much
Right.
anti-lag.
Yeah.
Simon's old Supra.
Right.
That was, but yeah, very similar. Yeah. Anytime
I
that-
just love that sound, and I think
Yeah.
that comes with a little bit of that style aspect
of course.
of drifting,
Yeah.
and so that's just
keeping the-
who I want people to know what kind of driver I am.
Yeah, well, it's good that you've still kept some of your own personality all through
Mm-hmm.
the years too, because like I feel like it's really easy for that to disappear, right?
Right.
Like it's easy to like sponsor, like okay, we need you to do this or do
Yeah.
that. Nothing against sponsors, but like there's a certain, even just internally, you have to be like, okay, I need to either grow up or be a little bit different, but you get to still kind of get that obnoxious teenager to come out in this,
Yeah,
right?
and, all of that, of course, has to do with being able to work with companies like Toyota, where
Yeah.
they give us the freedom to really be ourselves.
Yeah.
And portray the types of drivers that we are and the types of cars that we build.
I think a lot of their marketing and advertising recently has shown that with like some of the commercials, like the pitch, though that series of commercials. Is,
Oh my God,
dude,
yeah.
they're so funny.
Yeah, they try to keep it fun, and
Yeah.
they want to showcase that fun. And
Yeah.
I'm just glad that they used us drivers that represent the brand
Yeah.
as part of the talent in that series.
There's a few other OEMs I could learn from what Toyota's doing, that's for
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah.
So cool. Well, I'm really sorry that this happened. I'm hoping, you guys can get through and figure out what the issue was, and
Hey man,
Hopefully it
we'll just
doesn't
come
happen
back.
again.
We'll just come back stronger for
Utah.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. Do you like Utah?
I love it. I mean, we won there, so
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
it's hard to hate a venue that we've won at.
It is the backdrop.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
it's
my God.
man,
Beautiful.
the photos coming out of there are just
Unreal.
next level.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Weather's
my favorite
great.
part,
The fans are great.
The altitude screws with everybody. All these like big V8 guys like
Yeah,
start to get knocked
yeah,
down a peg. It
yeah.
like really evens the playing field.
Yeah.
Everyone's nitrous starts getting turned up. It's a good time. Things get
Ours
wild.
did definitely.
Yeah, things get wild. So awesome, dude. Kevin,
Cool.
thanks. I'm glad we
Yeah,
got to do this.
absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Vaughn.
You're getting fancy, dude. Remote podcast,
I
dude,
know,
at
we're
the
trying.
track.
I know it's getting good. It's
I
getting
like
good.
it.
Bring it down a little touch. I always forget. You got the big voice.
Yeah, dude, I got energy.
I Ken Gucci on before, so like he's very
He's chill.
He's chill.
He's a chill guy.
How are you feeling like being back? Is it you seem relaxed?
I'm pumped.
Like, dude, you look so relaxed out there. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I just last year was nice to just reset, watch,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be here, but I've gotten so invigorated and excited to be joining this team with James and obviously our new Mustangs.
Yeah.
And, they're the best they've ever been, and I'm just having so much fun. I'm just driving with my heart and not so worried about anything other than doing the best I can in each moment. And
Right.
that's been a very big difference for me from always being used to like thinking about not being present.
Yeah.
I guess, thinking about what the goal is, chasing a championship, whatever it may mean. And now I'm just here to throw down and have fun with our people.
Is it one of those that like you've got everything else kind of handled and you're like, no, this is my weekend away. I'm not worried about the championship. I know the team's got it handled. I know Chelsea's everyone's gonna throw down. And that's like, well, I just get to go out and drive.
Yeah, I don't think it's really as much about like exterior things. Like I've had a good team for a long time. The stuff at the RTR lab is I got a great team there, rocking and rolling while I'm gone. So it's not really about that. It's more about myself and things that I've found from other types, from off-road racing and learned about myself and then just my progression as an athlete and a driver. And, I do my best when I show up and I'm just present and focused and in my flow of focusing on just what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I don't really know how else to explain it, but it's more of a different internal approach than it is anything external for me. Like it's all inside.
Right. Okay. No, I think I know what you mean, where it's like when there is much less to risk because you're not hunting that championship, it's like, well, then this is just fun. That's all this is now, right?
Yeah. And I think that if I ever did do a complete season again, I would still have the same approach because I see where I'm at.
Yeah.
I see the lack of stress and the lack of worry. Like I know that I'm built for this. I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
But like we all question ourselves and we all get this negative self-talk, and that happens a lot when it's pressure.
Yeah.
And so I think I've just been able to learn how to deal with the pressure. There's still pressure.
Yeah.
Like I'm coming out for back-to-back win. Like, I want to obviously represent and, keep doing well, but it's just a different mindset and a different approach that I have. The other thing I'm also not doing this weekend is like trying to extract every little bit out of the car. I did the same thing in Atlanta.
Okay.
Where previous years, it's like, both myself and Chelsea are like extracting every ounce out of the car, trying to be the fastest while hitting the line. And I'm just like, this is the car. It's plenty capable.
Yeah.
My spotters, can tell me if we need to speed it up, and they know what to do to speed it up. So tell me we got to go fast, tell me what we got to do to run who we're running, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Instead of like just constantly worrying about it, because it just takes up brain space. And then when you got brain space taken up, then you can't focus and be present. So for me, it's just been a very different approach that's taken 20 years to really understand, 19 years and a year off,
so
so
always learning though. I mean, I think that's the important part that people think when you get to a certain level, you're like, oh, cool, I'm here, but you're always learning.
how
Like,
boring would that be if you weren't?
man, I know, right?
So
Well,
that's the thing. It's like you're never, on paper, I'm a master at this, right? I've got well over 10,000 hours,
yeah.
but the reason why I keep doing it is because it continues to push me.
Yeah.
And even though I'm taking a different approach, I'm still pushing myself. And every lap, I'm learning and evolving. And so that's what's so cool about this sport. And I think motorsport in general, like it's a constant progression. You're never always just going to be unstoppable in anything like this when you have all these teams and drivers that arguably have just as much passion and drive as you and your team. So, that's why it's not boring. That's why I've been doing it longer than anything I've ever done in my life consistently, except for like brush my teeth. You know?
It's like breathing, brushing teeth, and drifting.
Yeah. So, but now I'm just having a blast, and we just got a really good vibe, a good group of people, and 3 very different drivers that all complement each other in certain ways. So it's really cool. And, I really kind of wish we had 4 cars, because I'd love to have Adam here as well.
That would be crazy. Yeah.
But that's been another thing. It's been really fun sitting back and watching with my son and watching our team do the thing without me there.
Yeah.
And this year, getting 3 wins, one car, one team, 3 different drivers. Like it's just
Wild.
unbelievable.
It's definitely like a history making season in that regard. Just like what has happened, how successful the team has been thus far, and I mean, there's still got three events really to go.
Yeah.
It's wild, and like I think at this point, this becomes one of those in the cap of everything that Vaughn Gittin Jr. has done in his life. This is going to be ranking probably top 5,
Yeah,
at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a big one for me. You know, it's not been easy. There's been a lot of behind the scenes. Like anything that's worth anything is always tough. You know, I know we kind of make it look easy sometimes.
It's the duck, right?
Yeah, but there,
Yeah.
yeah. But you know, it's been a lot of learning. You know, we've pushed these cars really hard, so we started failing some things we've not failed in previous years, and you know, it's been really interesting. But like now things are sorted,
Yeah.
and everyone shows up, knows what they got to do, and yeah, it feels good. You know, it feels good for the vision to become reality.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not surprised because I know the effort that every man and woman on this team put into it. But it just nonetheless feels really good, and it deserves a little bit of step back and be like, hell yeah, we're doing this.
It's good you get to do that. It's like I find that's the hardest part with any of it is taking that moment to like step back, look at it all, and just be like, damn, like
That's happening.
yeah,
I don't do it enough.
I know,
I
yeah.
don't, because we're so head down, ass up, chasing the dream. But
Gotta put a
you do
phone
gotta-
reminder in.
you,
Like,
you do got to step back and acknowledge it. And for me, I just find a lot of gratitude with our team and what they bring, because this ain't a 9-to-5 job.
no,
This is nothing. This isn't driven by money. This is everyone here brings the passion, and they want to win, and they want to be better than anyone else that's here, and that's
Yeah.
what that really makes it special. And I'm just grateful that to have so many, this group want to spend their time, their limited amount of time in this life to come do this with us. It's really cool.
No, it's not. Speaking of getting the car set up, these look fast.
They're
like
fast.
Chelsea, one of Chelsea's last runs, we were sitting up there, and I just kind of like looked at everybody, and all the jaws had dropped. Like, I don't know what has changed during practice, but I've watched these cars take half a second off almost every lap. It is wild how quick these are getting.
Yeah, they're super fast and easy to drive, and we got there's some magic in these Mustangs, man. It's just what it is.
Yeah, it's nuts. The ability to, like, they're super wide, they're very planted, yet still wild. Like, you can tell that the car is under control, that the inputs are making it, but it's also still weight jacking a little bit, which is kind of sick to see, because like it brings me back to a few years ago, especially in Atlanta. You guys three-wheel into it.
Corners up.
Yeah, pulling like the old dirt track style.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see how you've taken everything you've learned with these chassis, and now it seems to be at a point where, like, okay, we know how to weight jack the cars properly. We've built these insane rear ends and knuckles and control arms, and we've got an incredible suspension built in, and now we've got some of the greatest drivers to ever grace the sport. Like, no wonder this season is going the way it's going.
Yeah, it's been a lot of that though. Like, it's been the years of development. I mean, I've been in Mustang since 05,
Yeah.
right? So, in the different iterations, and obviously this is the newest Mustang that just came out, but it's input from myself, from Chelsea, from James, all these new perspectives of these guys that have driven different cars. I've only driven Mustangs for a really long time.
That's a solid point.
So, I've become accustomed to the little nuances where it's different for them. So they've helped dial out some of these things that honestly I didn't even know was there. I didn't even know there was another way.
It's been driving around it for years. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's made me a really good driver. But it's just gotten better, and the cars have just gotten easier to drive. Like, we have extremely fast cars that drive like demo cars, where they used to be so hooked up and they were hard to adjust. And now we've kind of made a really good balance with that. And so, you'll see some of the, the weight jacking in the car lift sometimes, but it's a lot more planted.
Yes.
It used to be that they're moving a lot because we have them so soft, trying to put all the grip down. And, we've been able to figure some things out that allow us to still get the end result, but by settling the cars and making them a little easier to drive. So it's like, for me, all those times of, driving around something or making adjustments, now it just does exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Easily. It adjusts the cars. It's fast in the lead. So we got the best of all worlds, and that is a true team effort.
Yeah.
And of course our engineer Clay, who's up in the spotter stand, smart dude, and
Yeah.
Ray, our crew chief. And so we just got a badass group, man.
No, it's awesome. I very much want to get multiple parts of different crews on as well. And Clay is definitely on my hit list to sit down and pick his brain for like 2 hours. I mean, I go for probably 3-4 hours, but we'll keep it short. But cool. Well, I'm super stoked to see you out. I'm excited to see you in Utah. That one I think really suits your driving style. And then obviously anytime you see the OG guys in Irwindale, like goosebumps immediately. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. And although there's a reason why I'm back for the last 3. These are the rounds that I really wanted, and obviously worked well for things Adam's got going on. So I'm pumped, and I'm excited to try Utah out. I love fast entries, and that's a fast entry, so we'll be sending it for sure.
Sick. Thanks, man. Appreciate
buddy.
it.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one. You good to go?
Good to go.
All right, sweet. Dude, congrats, P1.
Holy
Sick.
crap.
Man, how was this weekend so far? Because I've heard it's been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, so it started out great.
Yep.
I did my first run. I was like, oh, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Definitely. Never driven on these GT radials here. I'm like, these are some sauce. We're
Yeah.
ripping. And then second lap, it had like a weird thing that happened. And I was like, luckily I reached out to Linky to you guys. They're here on, thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Rob.
They're here at the track. So they come running down here. They're like, throttle body, like pedal commanding, but throttle body not doing the thing. Like, all right, let's put it on. We go to put it on, and I had this spare setup for like 3 years, right? I've never used it, never needed a spare throttle body.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit the supercharger bracket because it's just like late model, new model, old one that I used, discontinued from GM.
Just one of those weird oversights, right?
Right, but when you look at them, they look exactly the same. Yeah, lots of these. But I think because we ground the crap out of the supercharger bracket to fit the new throttle body, because it's just in a slightly different position, that it was just not happy. So killed belt after belt after belt after belt. And finally I was like, all right, let's do everything. The crank pulley, the supercharger bracket, like we're doing everything. So we missed almost all of our practice.
I was going to say, you weren't out there
the
a
whole
lot.
time. No, I wasn't. The runs that I did were pretty good until something happened, right?
Yeah.
And once we did new supercharger bracket, new crank pulley, went through every single pulley, cleaned it all up, put it back on, I think it's good. So I think that like throttle body started a chain reaction. And it's like such a small oversight.
Yeah.
When you look at them, they look exactly the same, but they just fit ever so slightly different.
Oh, that's brutal.
Just cars, right?
Yeah, I know.
Cars.
I know. Just so many moving parts. Million moving parts looking for a place to crash, right?
Exactly. And literally today, going into the qualifying, I was like, I just want this to be over so I can drink beer with the boys, so I can hang out. And
that's all it took.
Sometimes that's the right place to be.
I will say your transition between 3 to 4, I don't know what you're doing, but it's like just all throttle the whole time and you just snap it around like.
So I think one of the why I love the Corvette is it is so snappy.
Yeah.
Even when you're not trying to be snappy, it's a snappy car. But because that's a small little tight corner, right?
Yeah.
So you can really load the car up and toss the wheel. I love aggressive driving with hard flicks. I love it. That's how I like to drive. But you just don't do that in Formula Drift because we're drifting, 5/8 banks, coming into a smooth turn, right? It's
they want this nice, floaty, smooth style.
Some tracks you can, but a lot of them you can't. So I always pride myself on really quick transitions and getting on throttle early. So for me, I try not to check up. I just toss the wheel, load the car, and get the hell on the throttle.
Dude, I was watching it, and then what was funny is the first time you did it, I'd seen everybody else's practice runs. You did that, and then I'm up with the spotters, and you start hearing some chatter. And then I look, and then like another guy does it, and then I'm like, oh, he set the standard now. So,
dude, I noticed because I always ride the yellow line coming in.
Yeah.
And then I was able to watch them practice while my car was broken. I was like, oh, everyone's starting to ride the yellow line, right? You start to see it.
It looks good though, man. It looks savage. Like it hooks up so hard, and oh man, it's
so
it's
something that, honestly, I learned a lot from driving D1. When I drove D1 in China, it's all about aggressive transitions and super snappy initiation.
That was from the DOS box though, right? Because that's how they actually judge it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the judges, it's hard for the judges to tell, oh, that was a snappy transition, right?
Yeah.
Like, unless it's leaps and bounds over somebody else's. But the DOS, it actually knows. It's crazy how much it's programmed to know. So I just learned to load the car and transition as hard as possible. And that's a perfect example. Like, that's one of the few corners in Formula Drift that you can do it.
Oh, dude, it looks so sick. Well, I don't want to hold you up too long. I will say your new
It's
project.
all right, I'm just drinking beer, dude.
Dude,
That's
your
it.
new project has me so excited. Man, and it's funny because during our podcast, like you hinted out, I'm like, there's only one car.
Are you a big mid-engine guy?
I'm just a weird chassis guy. I like weird chassis. I don't get me wrong. I love everything that's here, but like when Federico brought in the Ferrari, I was just
cool.
like, even if it's difficult to drive, I just want to see
The
something
Aston,
new.
so
sick. So sick. Yeah. But then seeing that, I'm assuming you're keeping it mid-engine.
Yes,
it's like okay,
for sure.
There's only been one other mid-engine. It was a Porsche that was an FD, and I've heard some back and forth that like on a big bank like this, they're sick. some of the weird transition stuff, like that's when
maybe
it
not
gets
good.
weird. But
This is what I like to say, though, right? Because I'm talking myself into this being a good idea. Back then, when the Porsche was going,
Yeah.
all the drift cars sucked.
yes,
Right? So, like, of course that car sucked.
Right.
Because so did S13s. You
Right.
know, they were the best of the shitty cars.
Yes,
But
at
they
the time.
sucked compared to what we have
yeah.
today.
'Cause there's only a few years in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we can make it good.
Yeah.
But like this car's 50-50. We shoot for 50-50,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Move as much weight back as possible. So I just told myself, all right, if we do that, like just do the opposite. Like put everything in the front and let's make it 50-50.
So you have like fuel tank and stuff. up there?
Everything,
Ah,
yeah.
that's gonna
But it's
be
so weird
interesting.
because once you start doing the layout, I'm just like, I don't know if we can make this thing 50-50. Like there's only so much that you can fit. Because the trunk is like this
Yeah,
big.
yeah.
Right? The frunk
The
is
frunk.
this big.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're going to see.
Dude, I'm here for it either way. Even if it makes like a wicked party car, I'm here for it.
Right. I figure the plan is build it this year,
Yeah.
bring everyone along for the ride because none of us here know anything about mid-engines really,
No,
right?
no,
Right?
you were
So
exploring
We're
the whole
learning,
time. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Demo next year,
Okay.
and then hopefully by then we'll have won 2 Formula Drift championships.
Of course.
So it won't matter, and
Yep.
we'll just drive that and have a good time in 25.
Sounds like a sick plan.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, dude, I'm here for it. Congrats again.
Thank you, man.
Excited to see you tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, thanks again, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the drivers that took a few minutes out of their day. Thank you to Dean Carney for not running me over, because he probably could have. Thank you to everybody at home for tuning in, and all the fans for stopping by. If you are at one of the remaining rounds, you're at Utah or Irwindale, make sure to come find me. I usually got a hat or some stickers or something for you. Really appreciate all the time. But thanks again, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.